Hey guys, Ponce here with another Legends of Runeterra video now that the open beta is officially opened up for everyone, and no one has any cards because they reset everything. So in light of that sort of situation, I'm going to attempt to give a little bit of advice on what's going on there, what's kind of strong early, what might might make the game a bit less frustrating to play early, that sort of thing. Now, of course, everyone has these three pre-con decks to start off with. They're not terrible. I mean, they're pre-con decks. They're definitely going to be utterly crushed by, proper top-end, I have all the cards and min-max the crap out of this game style decks. But for the time being, they serve fine. You're probably better off using these and try to construct a deck with the crappy cards you have. Like, they've been put together for what you have in a relatively efficient way. But what you might notice is these two decks here, the slightly more simple ones, are probably going to net you a bit more success early. They're just kind of simpler to play. They're a bit more straightforward, and they kind of just run into the enemy and hit it. Whereas this one here is a bit more finicky. I'm not saying it's terrible compared to the other ones. I don't like it personally because I think it's finicky and less effective while being... Finicky can be good, but I don't like the way this one is finicky so much. So that kind of gets into the notion of, well, if you want to start building your own deck, particularly after you get through the prologue, because the prologue gives you a bunch of stuff under rewards here. I mean, I finished the prologue, so you can't see it anymore. But in any case, back to the collection here. What might you want to do? Of course, what you want to do is, that's all relative. Maybe you just want to have fun, build what you want. For example, I have this deck here called Temporary Crap. I built it because I thought it'd be amusing. I don't necessarily care if it's good or not. I know I have a bad card base. Until I get more, I can't do anything like really good. So I just built this. But maybe you want something that can maybe win a bit more or helps you learn the game a bit more, kind of thing. So in regards to that, so there's a number of regions. Obviously, they're going to be different in terms of how strong they are, depending on how many cards you have, kind of thing. The gist of it is just a kind of a very broad overview, don't take this as 100% Word of God kind of thing, but generally speaking, Demacia, Freljord, and Noxus tend to be the easier ones to use. They start you off with kind of bigger cards, especially the champions, that just sort of play much more easier. They go forward and murder things. You don't need to, do too much stuff with weird spells, as they do have spells, obviously. They're a lot more brute force and consistent when you don't have a lot of stuff to work with. For example, let's go to Noxus here. Like, Darius is very straightforward. He's got some big stats. He has Overwhelm. He hits the person. He doesn't need to do all kinds of weird stuff. Like, for example, I mean, this isn't... For example, Elise can be good, but... And she's 2 costs, so she's obviously not going to be as good as a 6 cost character. But is very clearly specialized against spiders, or as a spider thing specifically. So, if you're not doing spiders, she's kind of a waste. One of the precons is, at least, is basically a spider deck. The second one, I believe, with Noxus Shadow Isle. But if you want to make your own deck that doesn't necessarily, or that is Shadow Isle but doesn't necessarily involve spiders, well, then you're kind of out of luck because they don't really give you anything other than Elise right away. So Shadow Isle, not a great pick if you want to build around early on. Again, later on it gets really good because it's my favorite region personally, because you start getting like Callista and Hecarim and stuff like that. Although Callista and Thresh have both been nerfed, but in any case. Again, Piltover and Zaun, Ionia, stuff like that, they're quite a bit more finicky. Like, Yasuo needs a lot of stun stuff, but they don't start you off with a lot of. You can build into it relatively quickly, but, I think in the prologue, they give you 1 Yasuo, which is why I have 1 here. Zed, on the other hand, is actually really good, but again, Ionia as a whole is a very finicky region. You need to have a lot of stuff with synergy that works together and kind of have a particularly good plan of what you're doing. So I don't know. Again, Zed can kind of carry, but it's a lot for him to do on his own. Whereas, again, let's take a look at another region here. Freljord, if you get a Tryndamere out, or you're just being really annoying with Braum the whole time, Tryndamere just goes out and murders people. There's a lot of big creatures like the Alpha Wildclaw and stuff like that. So basically what I'm trying to get at is, early on at least, simplicity will probably be king, and have more consistency. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying, focus exclusively on these regions, but it might be easier. In kind of in the general deck structure overall, again, Noxus will have stuff that's very, very heavy hitting. It doesn't need too much thinking. It's harder to counter that kind of thing. And the thing is, these sorts of decks also scale relatively well into an era when people will have better cards as well. It's not like it's all going to be going to waste. I have, at the end of the second beta, when people basically had all the cards, I was still playing very aggro Noxus decks periodically that would just burn people down before they had a chance to do anything. So, simplicity isn't necessarily a bad thing per se. What was another? Oh yeah, Demacia. Yeah, Demacia is pretty good as well because you can do stuff with Lucian pretty early. And it comes with a Garen. He's just a pile of stats. And Lucian, much like Noxus, actually I had one of my decks was a Lucian Noxus deck that just buffed the crap out of him. And he would just surge forward and kill people before they did anything. That kind of stuff can, definitely work. Granted, I think you only get one Lucian from the prologue, but at least you do get one. So you just maybe need one more and you're kind of sort of set to go. So, yeah, that's really all I got to say on the matter. I mean, it's pretty self-evident, I think, like when you don't have cards, you can't do fancy stuff. Stick to the basics. Well, I'm not saying do that, but if you want a bit more consistency, maybe a bit more success early, that's what I have to say on the matter. So thanks for watching, and I will be, of course, streaming on twitch.tv/Ponce. As always, today, if you happen to catch a video, if you got any questions, feel free to hang out. You can, maybe while you're playing. I know it's the first day of open beta, so you probably want to be playing as well. But maybe, I don't know, maybe have me open on the other monitor. Pop on over to the chat if you want some information on, well, what does this card do exactly, or how does this mechanic work? I've been playing it a while, so I'll be able to answer pretty much any question you have, I think. So, yeah, hope to see you there. Thanks for watching, and hope this video has been useful. Goodbye.